Hello, everyone. I have an important question for all of you here today. And what I'd like to do is to ask you if you know of another woman who was literally sideswiped by an act of betrayal. And if you do, let me know and post me in the comments below. And I want you to think about this just for another minute and let me know if this act of betrayal that happened with this woman occurred in her personal life. So if it happened in her personal life, write me in the comments below. And maybe even perhaps there's one other thing I'd like to ask you is that did this act of betrayal occur in her not her personal, in her business or even her professional life? And if so, please let me know and comment below and say business, because it is so important that I connect with you about this, because I want you to know and this woman to know that you are not alone. And it allows me to acknowledge that the work that I'm doing and the women that I'm serving is to remind myself that I was not alone when this occurred with me also. So thank you so much for sharing such a personal piece of information about yourself or about someone that you care in the comments below. My name is Tammeron, and I am a certified astrologer, and I've been a certified health coach for over 14 years now. So, my wish for all of you women who are watching this or listening to this here today is to walk away from my talk here today with a different, higher perspective of all of the important relationships that are in our life, and especially if you've encountered an act of betrayal in an important relationship. Because to me, from an astrology point of view, it really does show us something very significant in why we are here in our own spiritual lessons and what it is that we are here to learn. So if anything at all keeps showing up in your life, whether it was betrayal or not, I absolutely guarantee that there's a nugget in there for you. So anything that occurs over and over in our relationships, I'm going to encourage you to pay attention, because I guarantee there is something in it for all of you. And I just want to remind you that when an act of betrayal does happen, for some people, this can be a life shattering emotional experience, which can spin people feeling overwhelmed and literally powerless, especially when it's someone they love and they genuinely care about. So I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned until the end of this talk, because I have a beautiful gift available for everyone. It's in a digital format, so I will be sharing that in the comments below. But I'm really going to encourage you to pay attention to what it is that I'm going to be talking about today, because there's going to be 3 principles that I'm going to be sharing, where these are consistent pieces of educational content that I'm always talking about. And I'm just so passionate to share this with all of you today, because over 24 years ago in my own life, I found myself trapped in a toxic and an abusive relationship where I felt like I did not have the key or the understanding or the tools to actually get out of that relationship. And I endured a lot of endless emotional manipulation. There was constant gaslighting, and I literally had a complete erosion of myself. I literally didn't even know who I was anymore. I was like a shadow of my former self, and I was lost in a sea of self doubt and literal confusion. I was genuinely suicidal, where I was literally planning how to check out. I was just constantly crying. I would go to people for help, and I wasn't getting the support that I needed at that time, because I didn't know it, but I needed something different that was non traditional. I was heavily depressed, and I was alone. And I had gone to my doctor multiple times and she kept prescribing medication for me. And unfortunately for me at that time, I had a severe allergic reaction to everything she gave me. And I walked out of my doctor's office one day, not even knowing what I was going to do. My eyes were all puffing. I was dealing with another sinus infection. I couldn't even see. And ironically and synchronistically, that same day, I met up with a woman who saw this severe reaction my body was going through. She could see how depressed I was. She knew how sad I was. She didn't know my story. She didn't even need to know my story, but she knew I needed help. And she asked me if I'd be interested in taking some holistic remedies and trying something completely different that was not prescribed from my doctor. And I shared with you that I couldn't take anything. So literally, how does that happen where it's the same day? It's literally like the universe guided me down a different path. And you know what? I'm going to be honest and say I never looked back. And it was literally like a miracle because the woman had just received her certification and her holistic training. And she asked me if I'd like to come to her house. Like, she didn't even have an office yet. I was so desperate. I was crying. I didn't even want to share my story with her, what was going on. I felt so ashamed at the time. And I lived in such a small community. And so I went to her house and she gave me some herbs and she gave me a beautiful massage and she drained my sinuses. And then she recommended that I do a few other things to help rebalance my physical body. And you know what? The next day I woke up feeling like $1,000,000. I was like, I need to know what that woman gave me, how she knew what to give it to me, and my life was on a completely different path. So I felt so blessed and so honored and so grateful that actually somebody could help me and was actually listening to what was going on in my body, not even being invasive about having to tell her about what was happening in my personal life. So for me, that was like the stars had lined me up to someone who was going to change my life. And so this is something that I want to encourage everyone to do, is to pay attention to anything that you feel like when you're lost or whatever, to remind yourself that maybe it's time that you are going to connect with somebody new in your life and just never, ever give up. And what I'd also love to do is to start sharing with you some of those 3 steps that I was talking about that I still continue to use because of that day when I met that woman. Because back then, we didn't even have really the internet. You couldn't go and learn a course online. And because I lived in a small town, I didn't even have places where I could go that were close by where I could even learn. I had to go into a bigger city. And to even find that stuff, it was still back then where you had to get little magazines or you had to get little promotion materials that were found in stores and in the mail and things like that. So it was interesting how the universe guided me. And I was so lucky because I found a school that was nearby. And I was able to start learning about some of these holistic remedies that I'll be talking about, why I still continue to share this information with all the people, because we have so many options that are available to us right now. So if you can relate to what I'm talking about, I know this is a wonderful community. It's holistic. So many of us are using some of these woo-woo little tools to use, but this is the age of Aquarius, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that at the end of my talk. But as a certified astrologer, this is the huge door that's really going to be opened, and more people are going to be ready to use some of these things that I know so many of us are going to be talking about over the next 13 days. So I feel so blessed to be a part of this. I want to say thank you right now for being allowed to speak and to share my story and my wisdom with all of you here today. But the one thing as a certified astrologer now that I love to do is to always talk about 3 specific things. And I do make weekly videos that go across my social media every single week and have even been picked up by local community radio or pardon me, local community TV to educate more people about the power of understanding what's happening in the astrological sky and what natural remedies we can be using to help balance our emotional well-being. And also, I always throw in a little action step or something that we can always do to keep moving forward and to embrace more of a balanced lifestyle that is connected to astrology, believe it or not. So the first thing I'm so passionate about talking about, believe it or not, and I bet some of you women inside this group are ready to guess, is about the moon. So if you know anything about the moon, if you're fascinated by the moon, if you study astrology or know anything about your moon sign, type it in the comment below. Let me know. Type in the word moon. Because as a certified astrologer, the one thing I love to share with people every single week is to understanding where the moon is in the sky. And the reason why I share that is because the moon zips around the earth every 28 days, right? So write down 28 if you know this. We were taught this in school, right? But every 28 days, the moon travels through all 12 of the astrological sun signs. And every time she goes through each astrological sun sign, which takes about 2.5 days, that's correct, it represents something very specific in our emotional wellness. And that is connected to our subconscious, which is right here. And in astrology, our subconscious is the moon. It represents our moon sign. So where the moon was on the day you were born is a very significant indication of your emotional tendencies. I'm going to say that again. Emotional tendencies, what you are prone to. So when I became a certified astrologer, I realized that that depression and that suicide energy that I went through was actually on time, according to my soul's journey on my astrological birth chart and where the planets were in that time of my life. I was ready for my spiritual awakening. And also that it is who I am. And part of my journey was to understand how to use the holistic remedies. And that is a signature also in my astrological birth chart that I will use these natural remedies and become a teacher of it. So studying someone's astrological birth chart can give us profound information on what we're here to do so that we are literally aligned with our own destiny. So getting back to the moon is so significant. And I'm going to be honest, today is Friday, March 8th, and it's International Women's Day. And my video this week, I'm talking about exactly where the moon is because we are coming up to a new moon energy in just 2 days on March the 10th. And that's when the sun and the moon come together in the astrological sky. So the night is dark. And so people, if you were born close to a new moon like me, you're going to be prone to needing to be alone, to sitting in the dark, to maybe even not willing to ask for help. Can you relate to that? Post it in the comments below. Me. And that is not a negative. It's just an indication. So for people like me and maybe you or someone you know, it's important for you to understand this because there are natural remedies that you could be using when you are feeling that heaviness and that darkness. If this is giving you goosebumps, let me know in the comments below, write goosebumps, because this is fascinating information about astrology that I'm so passionate about sharing. So when I recognized that in my own astrological birth chart, it was profound information because we're not taught this stuff in regular school, but it is going to start being taught because astrology in the age of Aquarius, I honestly believe, is going to be like ABC, 1, 2, 3. More and more people are going to want to learn at a young age on how to interpret and use wisdom from their own astrological birth chart, because this is the age of Aquarius. More people are fascinated by astrology. But let me remind you that not all astrologers are going to talk about the same thing. You're going to want to educate people about the same thing. It's like going to a doctor. When you go to your regular doctor, your general practitioner, you come in with a problem, right? Say, yes, I understand. But a specific doctor or a specific astrologer is going to want to support you with something very specific. So I like to empower women who've gone through an act of betrayal and they've left that relationship, but they still need to learn how to balance their emotional well-being and to really understand it from a different point of view where it's more healing. So you get the nugget from that relationship. But many people come to me and they're still very angry, and that's okay, because we need to express anger in the very beginning, because that is the first actual emotion that comes up. But what I want to do is I want to get you out of that anger. I want to start recommending some natural remedies that you can use to support you on your recovery journey. And that is number 2 that I talk about, is even in my little videos each and every single week that go out on social media, I talk about, I'm going to grab it here, what herbs I'm going to recommend that you put in your teacup or even include in your diet. And a lot of these items are right inside your own kitchen. And of course, you can purchase them at your local grocery stores, usually now, specifically organic in your health food stores, and even we can go online. So for example, I'm going to use this week. We're coming into a dark moon. I understand where the sun and the moon are together. They're actually coming together in the astrological sign of Pisces. And Pisces is a very dreamy, it's a water element. So it's a lot of people really needing to connect to their dreams. But because it is a new moon, it can be a heaviness. And because there's other planets that are in specific parts of the astrological sky, what I've been recommending in their teacup this week is to use peppermint, to drink peppermint, use peppermint tea. And people say, oh, I don't want to drink tea or whatever. I always have another high-grade essential oil, whether it's the same plant I'm recommending or maybe even something more specific that has an emotional healing property to it. Because let me remind you that all plants have an emotional healing property. So if you're feeling a little bit off, you can use something that's natural, that gives you that oomph and rebalances what you're feeling. So you're going to feel it, because remember, our emotions are expressed in our heart, right? Our intuitive mind. It's right here. It's not up here. This is our logical mind, and it's actually a different signature in astrology. So that is the final step. The second step. And the final step that I encourage people to really connect with, and I share this as the final step in all of my videos each week, is to take action, is to write down what your intuitive mind is telling you. What is your intuition telling you? What is the moon trying to tell you? What is bubbling up for you, and how you can release it? Because the more often you connect with your intuition, which is your heart, you're connecting to the moon. Type moon in the comments below if this is making sense. I want you guys to put the dots together here. This is information you are not taught in school, but it's going to be free for you when you grab my digital guidebook here today. So when you connect with the moon and you trust your intuition, the next step is to really write it down somewhere. Like literally take action, whether you use a guided journal, whether you use an open journal where you can just write down whatever it is you're hearing. Use a guided journal, whether you use an open journal where you can just write down whatever it is you're hearing, and to trust it, to learn to trust it. Because betrayal happens when maybe we were getting those red flags and maybe our intuition was telling us something, but we weren't really taught to embrace it. Or usually our intuition is telling us something that's not logical. And so things may have kept happening because the moon is tapping on your shoulder and trying to tell you to slow down and to pay attention. So there are some very specific times that happen every single month where inside of my community, us women get together. If you're just even a basic member, and I am teaching you how to connect with the moon and to teach you how to connect to the four elements that are represented in astrology, which is water, earth, air, and fire, how to use those four elements at those specific times during the moon to give you the guidance system that you need to really embrace a healthier and a happier lifestyle. So if you are interested, type in the comments below me, I'm interested, and the link is going to be provided in the comments for all of you. And I just want to quickly share with you, because I'm getting close to the end here, is for all members, even the basic level of my community, you're going to get your own guided journal, your own copy of my Inner Lights journal, which is part of my Inner Lights Academy for women. And I just love to support women who have left an abusive or a toxic relationship, and very specifically if it was because of an act of betrayal, because I want to get you moving forward using these 3 steps and to start looking after your emotional health, paying attention to where the moon is, and to really take action and to take your power back. Because literally, when you feel good, even though there's crap happening in your personal life, that is really when you're going to start flying and you're going to start feeling better. And I will make sure that after working with you, you're going to walk away with absolutely no regrets as to why this happened, because now you have so many tools in your toolbox, because this is just the first step. And I have so much more information that I can share with all of you. So again, I want to say thank you. My name is Tammeron, and I'm going to post the link below this for the free digital guidebook for all of you. And it has information there where you can connect with me, some extra additional support information, and my email if you'd like to connect with me and book a free 30-minute consultation. Again, thank you so much. Bye-bye.